Worf is Russian. The Klingon Star Trek TNG Earth family explained. In the pantheon of Star Trek characters, few are as iconic or as intense as Lieutenant Worf. With his deep voice, unwavering honor code, and signature Klingon growl, Worf is the quintessential warrior. But here's something that still surprises casual fans. Worf is technically Russian. That's right, our favorite Klingon from Star Trek. The Next Generation in Deep Space Nine was raised not on Kronos, but in a quiet human home in the snowy expanse of Earth's Soviet-flavored past. His adoptive parents, Sergei and Helena Rozhenko, proud citizens of the old USSR, and their influence on Worf's development is just as profound as any Klingon rite of ascension. A Klingon among humans. Worf's tragic origin story begins with the Khitomer massacre in 2346, where the Romulans slaughtered the Klingon colony. Among the few survivors was a young Worf, discovered in the rubble by a Starfleet officer, Sergei Rozhenko. Sergei and his wife Helena, a human couple living on the farming colony of Galt, adopted the orphan Klingon boy and raised him alongside their biological son, Nikolai. Worf was only 5 years old, and Earth, specifically a rural, Russian-influenced home, would become the foundation for his early moral compass. The Rozhenkos didn't just feed and clothe Worf. They loved him, fiercely and unconditionally, even as he grew into a towering warrior with cultural habits that clashed violently with human norms. Sergei and Helena, especially Sergei, made it a point to support Worf's heritage. In the TNG episode, Family, Sergei famously arrives on the Enterprise with a photo album and a big, warm heart. He embarrasses Worf in front of his crewmates with stories of his childhood and praises him with paternal pride. That moment, that wholesome, awkward, deeply human moment, reminds us that Worf's values aren't purely Klingon. They're a fusion of alien ferocity and old-world Russian endurance. Why Russian? What was Gene Roddenberry thinking? Star Trek creator Gene Roddenberry was known for weaving metaphor into character design. If Spock was the embodiment of logic versus emotion, Worf was designed as a commentary on race, identity, and assimilation. By placing a Klingon in Starfleet, Roddenberry and the TNG writers explored the complex struggles of someone caught between two worlds. But why Russian? The Rozhenkos weren't chosen at random. In the real-world context of the late 1980s, the Cold War was coming to an end. Placing a Russian family in a nurturing, positive role in an American TV show was subtly revolutionary. Instead of Cold War adversaries, the Russians were portrayed as compassionate, salt-of-the-earth people who raised a warrior to be a diplomat. This wasn't just a sci-fi choice, it was a political one. Worf growing up Russian flipped expectations, showing that enemies could become family and cultural boundaries could be transcended by love. The tension of two worlds. Worf's upbringing on Earth made him painfully aware that he didn't belong anywhere. As a child, he accidentally killed another boy during a soccer game, highlighting the tragic consequences of being different. His strength, instincts, and anger often put him at odds with human children, and despite Helena's warmth and Sergei's careful guidance, Worf grew up feeling isolated. That sense of not fitting in followed him into adulthood. In Starfleet, he was the only Klingon officer for years, constantly balancing his loyalty to the Federation with his need to honor Klingon tradition. The tension between his Russian human upbringing and Klingon heritage created one of Trek's most emotionally rich character arcs. Worf is not fully Klingon, at least not by the standards of the High Council. But neither is he human, despite Sergei's best efforts to make Earth his home. Worf often overcompensated, embracing Klingon rituals with even more intensity than full-blooded Klingons. It was as though he were constantly trying to prove that despite his human environment, he was still worthy of being called a Klingon. The Rozhenkos in Star Trek canon. Sergei and Helena Rozhenko appear sparingly but memorably in Star Trek: The Next Generation, particularly in the episode Family. Their appearances reinforce just how much they care about their adopted son. Sergei, a retired Starfleet engineer, is proud of Worf's service record. Helena, soft-spoken but resolute, gives us the best glimpse of